Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Custom Carving and Epoxy UK. I hope you're all doing well. And you may remember in the last EcoPore experiment, I got some pretty cool results using epoxy resin and EcoPore, but I wasn't completely happy with this design. So in this video, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try EcoPore again, but with UV resin to create this. And no, there's no stickers used in that. That is painted on with UV resin and then EcoPore attached to the back. So if that's something you're interested in, you're in the right place, and let's get straight to it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Custom Carving and Epoxy UK, and I hope you're all doing well. And if you remember the last EcoPore and resin project that I did, I got this. And I really love this finish, the combination between the EcoPore and this really glossy finish of the resin. So I've got another experiment in mind, and with Christmas just around the corner, I've been thinking, what do I want to do? And I thought, let's see if we can actually create a realistic picture with this glossy effect backed by the EcoPore. So I've been busy on the printer. And I've come up with this Nightmare Before Christmas picture. I've actually done a wood burning of this in the past and it came out really well. So I'm hoping that I can replicate this in some way in the resin and then back it with that nice white EcoPore. Whether it works or not is another matter. So that's the great thing about these molds. They're semi-transparent, so you can still see through them to draw your image on. Now, it is very difficult with resin because it tries to move around. And what I'm going to try and do is get at least the black outline in initially with the UV resin. I'm going to be using the Apex UV resin. Now, when you're doing black and UV, it doesn't work very well. So my advice, do not, under any circumstances, use a resin dye paste because it just won't cure. If you do it with a mica powder and you do it fine enough, then it will cure. You might have to go over your lines once, twice. But then what you've also got to think about is the resin tries to move as soon as you put it down. So you've got to be quite quick at getting that torch on and curing your design in there. So it's going to be quite a long process, this one, guys. So I am probably going to fast forward through a lot of it so that you guys don't have to sit here on a 3-hour video. But all I'm going to try and do initially is get the black in. Then I'm going to just, because I want that to really pop, and then I'm going to decide about the rest, whether I'm going to actually attempt to put the colours in, which I'm leaning towards at the minute, or not. So all I'm going to be using is a silicone tool like this with a fine point on the end, if you can just see there. So that should allow me to get these really fine little details in. And then what I'm going to do is mix up the resin and actually put it in one of these needle tip bottles so that it gives me a bit more control over where my lines are going. So I'm hoping it's going to work, but if not, then at least we'll know. But we'll see just how detailed we can get this, and I might get ambitious and actually try and get these colours in as well, but we'll see how we get on. I think the main thing is, first of all, is to get these black outlines in. So I'm just going to crack on with the project and probably fast forward it, otherwise, as I say, I think we're going to be on a 3-4 hour video and you don't want that. So first things first, just a clear pot, well, one of these plastic boring pots, I'm sure we've all got them, and I'm just going to put a decent amount of the UV resin in because to do those outlines I'm going to need quite a bit. But then the key is to not add too much mica powder to it, because if you do, it just won't cure. So that, I think, initially will be enough for my black. And what I'm going to do at the end as well is cover this bottle with a glove finger so it doesn't cure up. And I first saw this sort of UV technique with the needle tip bottle from, I think it was Daniel Cooper. So shout out to him as well for the inspiration. If you haven't checked out any of his videos, check them out because they are really cool. He's definitely inspired a lot of his resin artists. So there we go. That's just your clear UV resin. And I'm going to add a small bit of this black mica powder. And I still want it to be almost semi-transparent, so I don't want to go overboard with that mica. It might be a little dark, that, but you can still just about see through to the stick at the minute. So again, I'm hopeful that that will cure. I'm going to add a little bit more of the UV resin just because I think I've done it a little bit too thick. So again, just to water it down that tiny bit, I've just added a bit more of the UV resin. And again, I'm using the UV resin from Just For You Online UK. And if you want anything from their store, I really recommend the Apex resins. I'm really enjoying working with them at the minute. But if you want anything from their store, they do. I have got a discount code for you, which is CCUK, and that will get you some money off. So I'm just going to go straight into this, guys, because it's probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, but I just wanted to get this down. I had it in my head, and I am one of those people that once something's in my head, until I've done it, I can't rest. So I just wanted to add as well, this is part of the Crafty YouTubers Christmas collaboration. So the whole point behind it is to get smaller channels more views and to enable you as a viewer to binge craft content. So do me a favor, click the link in the description and go look at all of the amazing craft videos that have been created by different people on YouTube. And if you can, give them all a like and subscribe, and we can all grow together. Here we go. So there's that rough template. First step is obviously to get the resin in the needle tip bottle, and this is where it could all go messy. I'm hoping it doesn't. That's better. So it's not fully opaque. So I'm hopeful that this is going to cure. Last time I did it with mica powder was with the giant UV butterfly that I did, and that worked. But then the next time when I tried doing it, I used a pigment paste and it was too thick, so the UV light could not get through. So just remember when you're mixing your black, guys, if you are going to try this technique, you don't want it to be fully opaque. Otherwise, whatever torch you're using will struggle to be able to cure. So here we go. I'm just going to try and get it in the bottle without getting it everywhere else, he says. And again, I can only really do these projects at night because any sunlight that comes through will start curing your resin. I think I'll have about 3/4 of a bottle here, so should be enough for what I want. And then it's just if I can manipulate the resin in the right shapes before I cure it. So there we go, that's about 3/4 of a bottle I've got. And I haven't spilt any, so that is a result in itself. And I think this will cure. I think I've got it about right. Now for this, I am going to take this plastic thing off because it just, if I'm being honest, it will get in the way and it will start dangling. So I'm just got it in the UV bottle, the needle tip bottle like that. And I'm going to use that almost like a pen to try and draw the bulk of my design in. So I'm going to start off with a bit of an outline, because again with this mold there isn't much of an outline for his head, but I think for it to stand out there's going to have to be. In fact, I'm going to start with 2 small bits. So his nose, hopefully. Come on, resin. Here we go. And I'm just going to pull it up like that, and the key's going to be here. Is getting that line so it doesn't just look like a dot, and then cure. And it should only take about 10 seconds, and I think that has cured. So just to show you guys, and now I'm going to have to line it up perfectly, but there we go. That's those 2 nostrils in there for, I think it's Jack Skellington, if memory serves correct. So this is the outline. Now it's really important at this point that I try not to move the mold, because if I move it, it's gonna bugger up the design, which I don't want. So again, just gonna go around the eye now, the first one, and once I've got the line, what I can do is go back and fill it in. So I just want to cure what I've done. And in fact, no I don't, because I've just spotted a little bubble. And I don't want any bubbles in this piece, if I can avoid it. And the great thing is, at this point, if something does go wrong, you can really carefully just wipe it off. So again, I want to make sure I've got a pretty even line like that. And then I'm going to cure that for 10 seconds. Then I'm just going to fill in where I've gone, because hopefully the outline that I've put in will act as a bit of a barrier and keep the resin where I want it, is the plan. But again, I want it to be quite thin. It doesn't have to be a thick coat at this point. I can always go over it again with another layer. And this is where, as I say, the resin starts to move. So I just want to try and make sure, if I can, I just get it in the area that I want, like so. And then I'm going to cure that. But where's my torch? I can just see a couple of bubbles. And I don't want bubbles. There we go, that's better. And as you can see, this is going to be a very, very time-consuming process, guys, to just try and get those details in if I can. But I thought it was a fun experiment for Christmas, and it'll be a fun way of testing if the UV resin bonds as well as the normal resin to the EcoPore as well. So there we go. I'm just going to keep on giving it 10-second blasts as I'm going around. But so far I'm reasonably happy that it's working. Just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of care. And you've got to pretty much do it straight away, guys, because if you don't, the resin will move. Again, it's just watching those bubbles as well. There we go. Now I'm going to fill that one in. And hopefully you're getting the idea here, guys. But you're literally drawing a picture. See what I mean, guys? If you're not happy, just wipe it off at this point. I wasn't happy with the shape of that line. Try again. There we go, guys. So an hour later, and I'm pretty happy with that as a general design. Now, obviously, one of the biggest things that stands out about this one is the red hair. So I am going to have to put the red hair in. So I'm just going to, again, I'm going to save that because I didn't use an awful lot. But as you can see, I've done all of that outline work, and I think hopefully that'll pull through to the other side and look really cool. So now it's just whether I colour them in, and I think I am going to. So he can be white, this bit can be white. I need red for her hair. So the question is, do I make up a load more needle tip bottles or not? If I'm being honest, I'm probably never going to use these other colours again. So the answer is probably no. So her hair goes from shades of sort of darkness to lightness. And I want to see if I can replicate that as well in the UV. So again, whether I can or can't, I don't know just yet. But I'm just going to use one of my small little pots, mix up some more UV. And I've got to see if I've got some red that isn't too vibrant, because again, if it's too vibrant, it won't cure. Have I got a real red? In fact, I've got the Let's Resin one somewhere, which was quite red when I used it last time. There we go, so that's quite a rich red. And again, I don't want to use a lot, because if I put too much mica in this, again, it probably won't mix. So her lips and her hair is what I'm trying to do here. So again, I've got the tiniest bit of UV in there. Next stage, I'm just going to try and use the silicone tool for this as well, guys, rather than using up another needle tip bottle. There we go, and I'm going to mix that up tiniest bit, and hopefully that'll give me quite a nice deep red for her hair and her lips. Can't forget those. And again, I don't know what it's going to look like on the other side, guys, but this is all an experiment, and I think it's going to be a bit of fun, to be honest. So now I'm going to try and almost, I suppose, paint her hair in with this UV resin. But I'm going to wipe my tool off, so I'm not putting too much on there at once. So here goes. And I don't mind if at this point it goes over that black outline, because that's the first colour down, so I know it should still stand out on the other side, hopefully at least. And again, just doing it bit by bit, not rushing it, because I don't want to get it in areas that I don't want it in, if that makes sense. I just want it in her hair. And as you can see, this is a very, very time consuming process, guys, so I'm just hoping that the end result is worth it. And I've just noticed I've got a couple of dots where I didn't want them, so I'm going to clean those off in a minute. But let me know what you think in comments, guys. Do you like it or not? And I think I'm going to have to mix up more of this red, to be honest, just to get the coverage I need. So that is pretty much that. Now what I want to try and do is, oh, I've missed these two bits, so I'm going to go over those first. And then what I'm going to try and do is mix in a little bit of black mica with this red, just to make it look like her hair's going all the way around, but it's a lot darker. Don't know if it's going to work, but we'll find out. And if it ruins the piece, I will cry. Because I'm actually really impressed how it's looking at the moment. But let me know what you think in comments, guys. I've just noticed there's a little tiny bit there that didn't fill. And then there's a bit on the edge as well, just there, that didn't quite fill. There we go. So I'm happy with that. Now, have I got any white? No. Because I just wanted a tiny bit of pink for that part of a dress. So what I'm going to do is take some of this UV resin out of this pot. And again, I don't need a lot, just a tiny bit. And have I got any white, just to whiten it up a little bit? See, I don't want to use a pigment again, because if I use a pigment, it's going to be, I think, too much. And then we'll have a problem with it curing. In fact, I've got my white sinker outside of me. Let me try a drop of that and just see what that does. Just want it to be visibly lighter, which that is. See, that's more of a pink now. Now the question is whether the pink will cure. Oh, that is pink. And now, as I say, if you look on the picture, what I've got as a reference, this is still her hair, but it goes really dark. So I'm just wondering if I can add some black. So some of the black mica to that red, and if that will just give us a really dark red. So I'm just going to try maybe 2 drops. Let's see what that does. Not quite as dark as I want it. So I'm going to add another. I want it almost black, but with a red tinge. So again, I'm just mixing it until I'm happy with the colour. Still not quite, it's getting there. It shows you how thin I did the black. There we go, that's much darker. If you look, all I've done is mix that black with the red, and it's given me that sort of darkish reddy colour. So now what I'm going to do is try and get this sort of in between, and hopefully the shades will come out once it's cured. So that hopefully is going to come out noticeably darker. But again, I won't know until tomorrow. But I am liking the way it's looking so far. So hopefully whatever we get, it's not going to be a complete failure. As you can see there, that's where it just starts to pull away. As I say, the resin does move, and I think I've tried to do too big an area at once, but it is what it is at this point. Really want to make sure it goes all the way up to the lines there as well. And it does look darker, so hopefully that's going to work. Right, next colour. So she is, in fact I'll do the small bit first, which I just want some yellow, and I don't think I've got any true yellow micas, so I'm going to have to try some acrylic paint, which again I haven't tried before, so we'll see. I'm going to try and do it in the same pot as well, because I want to use as few pots as possible. And then I'm just going to dip my silicone tool in the acrylic paint and hope that's enough to colour this resin. There we go, it is going yellow. Again, it's a very light yellow. I mean, I have got some alcohol inks, but again, they're not very dark. In fact, I'm going to add a drop more of that yellow to it and see if, just by making it a little bit thicker, that makes a difference. Again, I've not used acrylic paint before in UV resin, so I'm hoping it cures. And what I might do is come back over that with a second coat in a second, just to try and deepen it a little bit. But it has cured. So if you wondered if you can mix some acrylic paint into your UV resin, the answer is yes. That's more yellow. Right. Next colour. I'm just going to try and do a white now for the main parts, and then I think she has a slight greenish tinge, so I'm going to have to add a little bit of green for her. And I'm not going to go for the shading on this, guys, because I think you can probably go too far. So again, just gonna Have I got... Well, I have got some... I've got this fake ocean white from Temu, and that's not as strong as the main ocean white, so I might try that and just see what colour that creates. So again, I'm going to need quite a lot of white, I think. And whatever I don't use on the white, I can use to mix the slight greenish colour. So again, quite a bit of UV resin. I'm almost out actually of this Apex UV resin. Just shows I'm using it a lot. So again, just poured it in the pot. And this isn't as strong as the actual ocean white. So that's why I just thought, you know what? Add a tiny bit of this and see what it comes out like. It's a very different consistency to the proper ocean white from Let's Resin. So hopefully it colours it but doesn't make it too opaque. That's almost a milky washy colour, so I think that's fine. Should still cure, which is the main thing. So I'm going to do Jack Skellington first. And it shouldn't really matter at this point if I go over the black, because as I say, it should just go over because that should already be stuck to the silicone. But again, don't try and do too much at once like I am here, or you'll probably have problems. As I say, I just really hope that this is worth the effort. Imagine if none of it turns out, or it doesn't adhere to the eco-pour. I will be fuming, because I think this will have taken about 3 hours by the time I'm done. But again, you could leave this, I suppose, because the eco-pour is white, but I just love the shine. And that was one of the biggest things I loved about the last time I did an eco-pour project. It was that shine on the front when I used the resin. I'm hoping I'll get the same effect with the UV resin here. It's almost like paint by numbers once you put your outline in. Right, that's him pretty much done. And again, I believe her eyes are pretty much white, but the rest of her has that slightly greenish tinge. So I'm going to do her eyes. And then I've got to figure out how I'm going to get that slight green tinge for it. Probably going to be a different mica powder. But again, guys, let me know what you think in comments. Are you liking it? Are you not? You know, let me know. So far, I'm quite happy with the way it's turning out. And again, the possibilities are endless if this works. You can do any design your heart desires. And there's probably some of you out there that are a lot better artists than me. But I just think it's a cool little technique. Takes a little bit of time, but hopefully the result will be worth it tomorrow. Right, now the rest of us, if you look on the picture, she almost has a slightly greenish glow. So I'm going to try and find, in fact I've got some here. I've got this green mica powder. And I'm just thinking, is there any other colours that I'm going to need? Not really. So I'm going to just add some of this to the white, not too much. Because I don't want it to be overly green, but there is just that green little tinge to her. So all I've done is just added a tiny bit of the green mica. And if you look there, it's a very faint green now, which I think will work perfectly. Right, and then I can always add a bit more for the part of her dress where she's really dark. Where to start? Let's just go for it. And hopefully we'll see the difference in colour when it cures. But I think that is it now. So I'm just going to get some EcoPore, mix it up and pour it on. I don't think I'm going to do anything special to the EcoPore. In fact, I might colour it. But then it might impact the colour. So no, I'm not. I'm just going to leave it white, I think. But if you can see, guys, that to me looks pretty cool. And I'm just hoping it looks something like that on the other side. So I don't know how much EcoPore I'm going to need for this, but I am just going to go and grab some, mix it up, probably guesstimating it. Should I do a colour? Maybe just a faint one. Oh, but I don't want to ruin what's already there. No, I am going to give it some colour. In fact, I've got a load of this left, you know. I might just put some little dots around it, or maybe a border. Yeah, see if I can get a border. It might also stop bubbles. I don't like to waste resin. But I still think there's going to be a bit too much blank space here. What other micas have I got to hand? Let's try some gold with that green, just to add a bit of festiveness to it. And as I say, I've still got some UV resin in there, so I might as well add some gold and see what happens. And again, with this, I'm just going to dot it around, no particular order. Just think it'll, again, create less blank space and hopefully just give another element of interest once the EcoPore goes on top of it. Nah. That one I'm going to be wiping off and doing again. There we go. Happy with that. Now I'm just going to, again, torch it all. Mix up the EcoPore, pour it on, and then we'll see what happens. Now at this point, before I put the EcoPore in as well, just to make sure that everything is cured, I am going to just tip it over very gently and try and torch it from the other side as well. And then I am going to leave it overnight to cure as well, just because the time here is now 1:30 in the morning, and I want to get some sleep. But overall, I'm really happy with that design. If it looks like that on the front once I've poured the EcoPore, I'll be very happy. So as I say, just going to be really gentle now and tip it over like that. And again, just go over it. Right, EcoPore time. I think I'm probably going to need 1 full cup, should do it. And apologies about my voice, you can probably tell it's a little bit croaky now. And I think that's just because I've been doing this project for the last 2.5 hours. So it's taken quite a bit of time to get to this point. And I'm just hoping that we're going to get a cool result. I don't see why we wouldn't, but you never know until it's actually finished, do you? Just putting my lids on everything, and then we're going to just mix up some EcoPore. And again, the EcoPore I'm going to be using is from Just For You Online UK. So it's quite forgiving stuff. The correct ratio is 10 parts powder to 3 parts water. But last time I did this, I literally just added the powder and then completely guesstimated. So if you look there, guys, I've got one of my big cups and just pretty much filled it 3/4 of the way up. And look, it's like icing sugar. So now I'm just going to grab some water and literally probably going to add the tiniest bit. I think that feels about right to me. And then I'm going to mix it around with one of my silicone sticks. I say, it really reminds me of like plaster of Paris that you used to get as a kid, or those things that you used to get with like magazines, and then paint your own sort of things. But again, you want to do the same as when you're mixing your resin. Just scrape it all the way around, making sure that you're mixing all of that powder in to the water. And you're probably better off with a whisk and a bigger mixing bowl, but haven't got those to hand, so what I've got is going to have to do. And you know what, I'm going to do it, I'm going to add some colouring to it as well. And I almost want like a pancake mixture, which I think this is now. I think by luck, I think I pretty much guessed it about right. Now I have got this tart green from Creating Bloom, but last time I used it, it came out almost yellow, which I really liked, and I think that would actually set off this gold quite well as well. But it's just whether the design would stand out enough. It's going to be very white otherwise. So there we go. I'm happy that that's mixed. So I'm just going to grab some of this green and add it in. And again, green's quite a festive colour. So again, just mixing it all around. And I'm just hoping that the white is strong enough to still stand out now. But I really like this colour last time. And look at that, it's like a bright yellow. And if this works, hopefully, my design will still stand out on the front. So there we go. And now I'm just going to pour it in. Give it one last scrape around the sides just to make sure it's all mixed. And I hope that hasn't just spoiled it. But in it goes. And then just to try and make sure there's no bubbles, just going to tap it around the edges. And that is it. We're going to leave it now, come back in the morning, demold and see what we've got and see if it resembles that at all. Morning guys, and it is the next day and I'm excited for this. As I say, I was up till about, must have been nearly 2 o'clock in the morning finishing this. So we're going to demold. Love that yellow colour there that comes from that tart green colour from Creating Bloom. So let's have a look. And do me a favour, if you haven't already guys, like and subscribe to the channel. It makes a massive difference. Wow. There we go. And I don't know what you guys think, but I quite like that. And again, I love the shine that you get naturally from the resin, and it has bonded. And to me, it looks a little bit like the Nightmare Before Christmas. I think the colours haven't popped as much as I'd hoped, but you can still just about tell the different shades. So Jack Skellington there is white, and she's got that slight shade of green as well. So I'm liking that. It's not perfect, but do you know what? I think it's just a bit of a fun design for Christmas. And the edge actually turned out really well as well, where I just put that edge around with the UV resin as well. So let me know what you think in comments, guys. But all in, it does resemble that picture a little bit. So I like it. It's going to be on display this Christmas. And let me know what you think in comments.